Hello, my name is Lina Maria Clavijo, and today in this presentation I am going to talk about the topic of autism. In this presentation we are going to talk about characteristics of this disability. We are going to mention some barriers from the students facing the curriculum and even some barriers from teachers. And we are going to find some accommodations, realistic accommodations we can do with this disability in our classes. Hello. So, what do we know in general about autism? According to the IDEA, Individual with Disabilities Education Act, autism is defined as a developmental disability significantly affecting verbal and non-verbal communication and social interaction, generally evident before age 3, that adversely affects a child's educational performance. However, we can also check other definitions since the medical point of view. In this medical point of view, autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by deficits in social communication and the presence of restricted interest in repetitive behaviors. It is a neurobiological disorder influenced by both genetic and environmental factors affecting the developing brain. So here are some statistics and additional comments that could be interesting about autism. 40 years ago, it was very uncommon. I mean, it was one child between 10,000, but it seems to be increasing during the time. For example, some forms of autism affect 2 or 6 in every 1,000 children, with most recent statistics being 1 in 88, and really it seems to be increasing. So autism spectrum disorders are not just increasing, they are 4 times more common in boys and girls. And the research continues to reveal factors that correlate with autism risk, but no final causal pathway has been elucidated. Also, we have the phrase autism spectrum disorder. This is gaining momentum because it better captures the similarities between autism and other conditions that fall under this category. This term applies to 5 subcategories: autism, Asperger syndrome, Rett syndrome, childhood disintegrative disorder, and pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. Now we are going to talk about some characteristics of autism, but before I would like to talk about a myth that is important to mention, and is the idea of individuals with autism are intellectually impaired or not as smart as others. Well, I have to say that individuals with autism can be incredibly smart and not so smart just like their neurotypical peers. People often incorrectly assume that an individual with autism has reduced intelligence. This is a dangerous assumption, and one that undermines the autistic from reaching their fullest potential. So it's important to mention it before checking the characteristics. Well, in the characteristics we have first, a persistent deficit in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts. In this social communication, we have deficits in social and emotional reciprocity. They have difficulties to start a conversation or keep a conversation. It could be an example. They also have deficit in non-verbal communicative behaviors used for social interactions. I mean gestures and understanding um, body language, and things like that. They also have deficits in developing, maintaining, and understand relationships. Um, so it is important to know about it because um, they could feel lost about what exactly do you want to get from them when you are trying to get a conversation, or they have difficulties to adjusting behavior to suit various social contexts. For example, difficulties in sharing imaginative play or making friends. Yes, even they can have a total absence of interest in peers. Then we have engaging, the second one, the second characteristic, which is engaging in repetitive activities and stereotyped movements. And they can have or they can use certain objects or speech all the time. They can have simple motor stereotypes, leaning up toys or flipping objects, echolalia, idiosyncratic phrases, and things like that. In the third one, we have resistance to environmental change or change in daily routines. They insist, they have an insistence on sameness. They are kind of inflexible adherence to routines or ritualized patterns of verbal or non-verbal behavior. So they can have some difficulties with transitions. They can have a greeting ritual and they need to do it. They need to take the same road or eat the same food every day. Those are some examples. Yes, they are hardly restrict. They have an interest that are abnormal in intensity or focus in something. They have a strong attachment or an excessive preoccupation with unusual objects. So that is important to know, yes. And the fourth one is that they have unusual responses to sensory experiences. They can have hyper or hypo reactivity to sensory input or unusual interest in sensory aspect of the environment. For example, they have an apparent indifference to pain temperature or adverse response to specific sounds or textures, excessive smelling or touching of objects, visual fascination with lights or movements. Those are in general some characteristics that they usually have. Well, after understanding the characteristics, it's easy to know about what kind of barriers they are facing every day in a school class. So some of them are trouble following directions because they don't understand specifically what are you expressing them with your face and your tone of voice and your face expressions, things like that. So they are facing this difficulty. They have hampered ability to communicate, as we talked before, and they can show some disinterest about the class, and they can also have disruptive behavioral problems. But with this last point, I would like to say that for some specialists, they have been clarifying that it's not specifically a behavioral disorder. It's more than a neurodevelopmental difference. So it's important to understand that autism based on behaviors is a superficial way of thinking. So we need to change this understanding, and we need to check or to know that it's more a neurodevelopmental perspective and it's not a simply behaviorally situation. Now, other problems are the barriers that teachers are facing. to help the students to understand the curriculum. And as you can see, the first one is teachers' lack of training regarding to students with ASD. So there is not enough information, or the teacher are no trained enough. Some of them are really worried about the time they have to dedicate to create a class with a differentiation for these kids, because it's taking too much time from the neurotypical students. So they feel they have sensations like guilty and also frustration. So if they have a real training, they can face this situation easily. The second one is teachers' lack of collaboration opportunities. And when we express this, we want to say that I want to express that the teachers, we as teachers need support by professionals in this area, and it's something that is not common. This is connected with the third one, which say that there is a lack of resources provided by schools. And these resources are talking about specifically the training and the people specialized like I don't know, neurologists, or maybe some therapists or psychologists, or people who are really managing this specific disorder. And the teacher doesn't have, they usually don't have this support from these people. So it's important to overcome these barriers, because teachers need to have materials and supporting and feel confident to teach kids with this disability. Well, after knowing the characteristics of people with ASD, and also having an idea about the situation that teachers are facing in the classroom, we can now look for some reasonable accommodations for our students. So the first one, as you can see, is to make sure that you are giving directions step by step. So in that sense, you need to be absolutely clear about what do you need they do, explain them clearly and in a simple way. What do you need they do? Because they cannot read your expressions, facial expressions, or tone of voice and things like that. So it's important to have maybe some visual support that help the students to understand clearly what do you want they do. The second one is to find out what the students' strengths and interests are and emphasize on them. If you find their abilities, you can help them to get the information easily, and also to help them to achieve the goals. You can put them some specific goals according to their abilities and help them to get them. Yes. And then we can build opportunities for the students to have social and collaborative interactions. In this case, you have to work with your group and explain to other students how they can help students with this disability to feel more comfortable. Well, and it is also important to have a consistent routines and schedules. And if you have a change, it is important to talk. You have the necessity, or it's important to take a time to explain to your student if something different is going to happen. For example, when you have a trip, or you are going to go out to do a specific activity, or when you have an assembly or something like that. So you need to explain to the students what is going to happen and why. It is important for them to understand. Yes. So if behavior is a significant issue for the student, we need to look for help for professionals. But if we don't have professionals in our institution for any reason, we can look for support in the parents. Usually the parents become professionals in this area because they are facing the situation every day, so they know more than us. So we can even ask them in case that we don't have the opportunity to talk to a professional, or even we can make a mixture between both. And as you notice at the end, we can work together with the students, parents, and other school personnel in order to help them to be successful in their academic experience. Well, for teachers, the most important thing is training. So in this last part, maybe you have to take time from your life for look for about personal training about this topic, or maybe you can get some help from colleagues, or maybe you just can't talk to parents in order to get some information from them to personalize your classes to your students. It could be a good idea if you don't have access to other materials. So just think about it. You can make a difference. So finally, we have these sentences that is a conclusion about what we have been talking about. And it says, when the challenges of autism are understood and appropriately addressed, and the autistic individual is accepted for who they are, the potential is no less than a neurotypical person. So this is my conclusion. I hope you like it, and I hope you can apply in your experiences as teachers.